I've been a little quiet about this conversation that I've certainly seen on my wall through social media. And I'm well aware that the Facebook gods pay attention to what I might be interested in and continue to send it my way, whether I am thumbs upping or commenting or not. So I'm not assuming that this has been a part of your thread, but in case it has, or in case you're interested. It's really interesting for me to observe what happens for me, and also just themes that move through when I see that the world of somatics and embodiment and feminine spirituality are kind of having another wave of, dare I say, popularity. And I don't say popularity putting that down. I'm saying, another pebble has fallen and created ripples out. But there's something to emotional maturing, psychological development that I don't intend to make a hierarchy, and yet there's something to having experience over time. There's something to being with material over time where it changes. And the conversation that is very loud in my social media feed right now is when body-based, feminine, spiritual coaches and advocates, when they turn towards Jesus as a savior. And God and Christianity. Somehow, and I understand how, somehow Christianity has become a bit of the enemy for the way it weighs heavy in the light and doesn't give a whole lot of efforts to keep the importance of body alive. And I say efforts because if you speak to Christian mystics, they'll say it's not so that Christianity stems from a disembodied orientation. But if you look at dominant culture and where the large majority of Christianity moves from, it's a view that says body is less than. So it makes sense that there'd be this counter movement, that nature, in my language I say nature herself, but I'm catching myself, right? Because all of this is just my orientation. That nature herself, that nature itself is loud, and to actually take our attention and listen to it as a wise, intelligent source of energy and of wisdom is kind of like, it's a good counter move to things that got too tight for the body. And Christianity gets interwoven with patriarchy. Again, I understand how. But patriarchy coming from philosophically a mind over matter orientation, mind being associated with light and the light of consciousness. So it's like I understand, to the degree I do, why Christianity and moving towards the light would feel counter towards things that are beloved to me, like nonsensical wisdom, like the feeling body, like the heat of the earth, that creates shit. And so I'm just wondering and inquiring into how can there be room for it all? There is room for it all, right? Because it's coexisting. So how can we get on board with the fact that it's coexisting, and thus doesn't necessarily need to be argued with? That said, there is a place for argument. Friction creates the next thing. Yeah. So I don't want to down argument or debate, but there's something to the satisfaction that I'm occupying these days, which is it's okay with me if you misunderstand me. It's okay with me if I say things that are counter to the way you hold them. There's something relaxing about my nervous system not getting activated if someone has a counter argument or even says something that I don't deem as true about my work, my philosophy, my point of view. And what I've seen in this thread of conversation about people having awakenings, these feminine witch, goddess, priestess, tantrikas waking up and saying, all of that was darkness moving through me. All of that was the devil's work. But I now can see. That God's love is really all I need to attend to. It's okay for everyone to have their own path, right? I think we can, at least the majority of us will be able to agree to that statement. And it's rougher when someone starts pointing a finger and saying, and the work that you do and the work that I used to do is the work of evil. It's a little rougher, right? And what does one need to do? What do you need to do? What do I need to do internally to see that as like, okay, that's where that person's hanging out. I've been through some pretty initiatory feeling events in my life where people have seen me differently than I see myself, where it's been scary that it's happening because I think it might affect my work or how others see me. And to go through those initiatory experiences and continue to both have the somatic practice of surrendering to whatever's happening, I'm going to be okay. Those are nice words, but it actually takes a nervous system practice and a body practice to just keep opening to what's occurring. And finding ground and finding center, even as some shit's going down. So I've been curious when people have said, it's okay for people to have their own path, but don't throw daggers at my path. It's like, I don't know. I think a lot of the feminine spirituality movement, the body-based, somatically based movement has done a lot of like, and fuck the patriarchy, and fuck the systems that have put mind over matter, saying that they have disturbed us and they've been wrong. Shit gets out of balance. And sometimes it gets way out of balance. And if we lean into wisdom teachings like the Tao, it says like, yeah, and you know what's happening amongst inside of all of that? An attempt for balance. So I guess my inquiry is I mean, I want to hold lines. Don't harm another as you're speaking for what's true for you. You know, don't talk shit about someone else's work or the view they have. And there's this thing about harm and all the harm that's been done. And we do want to push back. And we do want to say, don't do it that way. But alongside that, alongside of setting boundaries, can you, can we be in the practice of like knowing our own okayness, even as someone else might be having some sort of awakening or balance creating moment in their life that looks the way it does? I don't know. I've had some experiences of folks not liking what I'm up to. It was hard, like real hard, to go through those moments. And something comes of the experience of knowing that you don't have to fight back in all cases. And sometimes it's just real good to keep showing up for what you love. And stay curious. What is going on for that sister? Not analyzing it, which I've seen plenty of, but just staying freaking curious. Like, what is going on there? That she took everything that was meaningful to her for years and put it down to embrace something else. Altogether different. In fact, the shit that she's been saying is not good for our world all of a sudden touched her in a way that has her dissolving everything that she's showed up for. Like, that's an interesting happening. There's something going on there. And I don't think it's just being twisted by what the pandemic has done, or getting down on yourself because, you know, the mother's not giving you what you needed anymore. It might be a life just trying to create some balance. And sometimes when lives go to create balance, they have to like push shit away and wrong stuff to move into their next shape. And I guess I'm just showing up here to speak for like seeing if we can move towards that acceptance and move away from anything that's hurting you. I don't know. It can just get so twisted in the wronging what's wronging you, you know? And it's pretty cool to be occupying the space that I am now and feeling my embodiment in this way, which is the feminine path is one of many. And I love it. And it's the one I choose most of the time. And there's more to it. And I'm a type. And my type is limited, even as I love what I move for and what I breathe for and the way I see the world. I love it. And it's not everything. So I stay curious so that I can keep expanding my experience and making room for others' experiences, because there's like billions of us. So the practice of continuing to make room for different ways, I could see that as a lifelong journey. Anyway, thanks for listening. If you have, be curious how this lands for you. Onward we go in the conversation.